All right, Michael, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. To get started, why don't you take a moment and tell us about your practice and what you specialize in?
I'm the founder and CEO of Imperia Wealth Management here just south of Boston in Braintree, Massachusetts. I would say what we primarily specialize in is institutional level portfolio management. Although we also do comprehensive financial planning, we have a strategic partnership with a estate planning firm where we can coordinate estate plans for folks at the same time. So we do get involved in holistic planning, but I'd say that most of our clients come to us for institutional level portfolio management.
Interesting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But first, could you maybe tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to do this? Why did you choose to do this?
I'll give you the Reader's Digest version because it's a long story. But I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. I don't know if you've ever been to Hartford, Connecticut, but it's
I
not
have
the
not.
Connecticut that the rest of the country thinks is Connecticut, where all the mansions are and stuff. Hartford's kind of a rough city. I grew up there pretty meagerly and really wanted to make sure that I wanted to get into this business first to help my parents out and make sure they got taken care of, but also to make sure people like them could get institutional level, white glove level service and advice. And so I got out of college and joined the industry right away at 22. And then fast forward to now, and I'm running my own firm.
Okay. I really like that. Maybe you could take a moment to just explain more about you started this because you wanted to help out your parents. Maybe we could talk a little bit about that for a moment.
Yeah, so I'm to elaborate on that. There's a lot I could say about that, but essentially, my father was a wood refinisher. My mother pretty much stayed home. I mean, wood refinish doesn't even really exist anymore, right? And because now
Yeah.
this is going back to the days where if you did a renovation in your house, or you were building a house, or you were putting new cabinets, and somebody actually showed up and made the cabinets the color you wanted them on
Mm.
site, right? That was my
Days
dad.
long gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's over. Those
Yeah.
days ended. And so it never made a lot of money, but and also never really got the type of guidance and education from a financial standpoint that they needed to in order to plan for the future. So that's sort of what inspired me to get into the financial industry. Is I think that's been missing for a lot of folks still today. Like I
Mm-hmm.
just don't think that everybody has access to really high level advice and white glove service. And so I got into the industry first as an inspiration to help them, but also help people like them to have access to the type of advice that I think everyone should have access to.
Okay, I love that. And we'll talk. I want to learn more about your clients and the people you serve in a second. But I wanted to learn a little bit more first about. You said you specialize in institutional portfolio management. Is that right? Is that what it was?
Yeah, exactly right.
Okay. What does that what does that mean exactly? Help us understand.
So early in my career, when I was really still young, back when I had dark hair and a small forehead and thicker hair and yeah. So when I had hair that looked like yours, it's
Hey, man.
you know,
There are pros and cons to having this hair. I'm just saying that.
yeah.
Right?
But so very early in my career, amazingly, I was made a portfolio manager at what was a very large investment firm at the time that no longer exists because they got swallowed up through all the mergers and acquisitions that have occurred in it. Technically, they're part of Wells Fargo now.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing portfolio management since I was 25 years old. And so uh, in different capacities, but I've started my portfolio management career at 25 years old. And because of that experience, the type of portfolio management we can deliver to our clients is very hard to find. If you were to ask yourself what percentage of financial advisors actually have any training on portfolio management at all, or capital markets research, or proper data analytics, or anything like that, it's going to be a very small percentage. But I've been in that arena for almost 30 years now.
Awesome. Love it. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the types of people you work with. So maybe you could take a second to describe uh, the typical person who comes to you? What's a situation that they're usually in that they need you to lead them?
So we have, I would say it's three main types of clients. The vast majority of our clients tend to be people at the beginning of or within, say, 7 to 10 years of retirement, and they need to get things in order. Like you would imagine, a lot of folks wait too long to start planning for their retirement years, and then they kind of scramble for the last 5 or 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make sure everything's in order. So I would say pre-retirees or very newly retired folks is a large part of the clients that we have because they just want to make sure that their money is going to be handled properly and it's going to last for the rest of their lives and provide them with the retirement that they dreamt about years earlier. Second part of it, a large percentage of our client base is going to be business owners, small to medium-sized business owners typically. Although we do have a couple of larger business owners, we have a specialty in terms of helping them to make sure they plan properly, and not just from an investing standpoint or a retirement planning standpoint, but also from an exit strategy standpoint and how to transfer their business and or sell it and get the most for it. So
Mm-hmm.
exit planning is something that we specialize in with business owners. And then the third one is kind of a unique one, and I kind of fell into that one because I got involved very early on in my career volunteering for nonprofit organizations.
Nice.
And I sit on a couple of boards now of nonprofit organizations. And so we really make a concerted effort to help nonprofit organizations out. Because what I found in that arena, sitting on boards and volunteering for them for years, is that they're really good at making sure they deliver on their mission, whatever that mission is,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not typically very adept at running their nonprofit like a business and getting the most out of their finances. So we can guide them on all of that stuff. And we have a substantial number of nonprofits as clients as well.
Okay, so you help the nonprofits be more more structured like a business, help
Yeah.
them manage more of the money. I was about to say be more profitable, but
Yeah,
you know,
well, it's actually fun. It's not not a misnomer. I actually tell nonprofits all the time, yes, you're a nonprofit, but you have to run your organization like it's for profit, so
mm,
that you can then take those profits and use them to better deliver your mission for longer in a better way, more robust, et cetera.
okay. Um, so let's. All right, so I want to learn a little bit more about the typical situations that you lead your one of these three clients through. We won't have enough time to go through all of them. Maybe we focus on one. Um, which of these three do you think would be best have the best example of a typical situation that you'd lead them through that would be good for
Probably
us
the
to talk about?
I think most of the people that would be listening to this are probably interested in what we would do with pre-retirees or retirees.
All right, let's do that. What's a typical situation that they come to you with that they need your help leading them
Yeah,
through?
so the most common question, I'm sure you hear this a lot as you talk to advisors, is do I have enough money to retire? Can I retire? I want to retire in this much time, in this many years, or I want to retire next year. How do I know I'm ready to do that? And so a typical situation for us is to take a look at how they're currently invested. How are they allocated? What's their portfolio right now look like? Um, how is what's the ownership structure of their invested assets, right? And non-investment assets. Like, are they going to be tax efficient or able to be tax efficient during the distribution phase of their retirement years? Which, by the way, the vast majority of investors are not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not set up actually well for retirement in terms of a tax standpoint. And so we really spend a lot of time with them, making sure we do whatever we can in the time they have before retirement, getting them set up better from an ownership standpoint and the types of accounts they have, and setting them up to be very tax efficient. Um, but I'd say the most important thing that I see is I rarely see an investment portfolio that's properly allocated when it comes into my office. Like, it's actually pretty scary, some of the things that I see. And so where we really add a lot of value is being able to look at how they're currently invested, put together a structure from a strategy standpoint, from where we are currently in the market cycle and the economic cycle, and setting them up really to be far better off from a return standpoint and a risk standpoint within their portfolio management. Because the vast majority of the portfolios I see, I would describe as they were pulled off a shelf. They're pre-made models that somebody pulled off a shelf and just threw into a portfolio, but there hasn't been a lot of thought given to, is that the right approach given what's happening out there in the real world right now? Where what makes us really different is we are very dynamic and tactical in how we build portfolios. We're style agnostic, and we will make changes to portfolio weightings based on what's happening out there to make sure that the portfolios remain consistently allocated in a proper fashion for where we are in the market cycle.
Okay. So I love that. You take things that are typically find clients come to you, they have some sort of like plug and play kind of package thing that's just thrown in there, but you really dive deep and offer that white glove service that you mentioned to make sure that their allocations are unique to them and specialized to them. Um, I want to visit a little bit for a second about, so you mentioned some of the questions that your pre-retirees or newly retired clients have when they first meet with you. What are some of the questions that they ask you as you guys continue to work with together? Maybe you've had a client for 5 years or more. What are some of the questions that come up day to day? Obviously, not day to day, but just after as you continue to work with them. Are those questions? Do you find those questions are different than what you typically get when they first come to you?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think one, we do a really good job of communicating with our clients regularly, so they shouldn't really have any questions about why we're investing their portfolio the way we're investing it. Um, they if they have questions about that, then something something was missed in terms of communication, and then we've got to figure out what was missed and then fix it, right? But we rarely get questions about why do we own these investments, why do we own those, because we communicate that regularly. And when we make strategy adjustments, we tell them we're making a strategy adjustment, here's why, so you're going to see trades happening in your account. The question that normally comes up at once they're clients for a long time is they hear something on financial media, or there's something that happens like tariffs last year, the
Mm-hmm.
Iran conflict this year, and they get freaked out and they say, well, what's your take on this? And the one thing that they find comfort in with us is we always have a take on it. We've analyzed it, and we're going to tell them this is our take on what's happening. This is likely what's going to occur from, it could be an inflation standpoint or it could be a market standpoint. And so we never really just give them the cookie cutter sort of, you just got to stay the course, you just got to do, all the cliches. We actually tell them what our research tells us is happening. And the
Interesting.
reason we can do that is because of the portfolio management background that we have.
Okay. So you also go into the why. Sounds like there's a little bit of education piece. You explain, and so they understand why you're doing what you're doing instead
Mhm.
of just. So okay, well that's great. I love that. Um, where do you typically find your clients? What are some of the What are some of the ways that they find you? How do they typically come into your world? Where do they come from?
So referrals, we get a fair amount of referrals. We also do educational workshops around the area. And a lot of those folks that go there, if somebody attends our educational workshops, I can't guarantee a lot of things in my business, as you know, but I can guarantee they're going to hear things they've never heard anywhere else before. They're going to hear information that they have not been told before about how things really work, whether that be from an investment standpoint or if we're doing an estate planning workshop or whatever the topic matter might be. And so a large percentage of the folks that attend our workshops actually ask for meetings, and we fill the room pretty consistently. About every 6 weeks, we'll do a workshop, and there'll be 40 to 60 people in it.
Wow, that's awesome!
Yeah,
Congratulations. So
thanks.
it sounds like you really those workshops are very valuable to the people who attend, and they're getting information or insights that they haven't gotten anywhere else or heard before. That might explain why you're getting such good uh, getting getting good meetings booked after that.
Yeah, and then the one other
I'd
spot.
ask. I was going to say
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you what you go over there. Maybe one or two things that you share, but maybe we'll just say they would need to attend your one of your workshops.
It would actually be hard to explain in an interview like this, like especially if we're doing a workshop on investment management, because I literally will tell the 40 to 60 people that are in the room, I'll say, listen, I'll take a poll. How many people consider themselves students of the market? How many people consider themselves novices? Whatever, what level of insight is in the room.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell them, even for those of you that think that you know a lot about the market, I want you to forget everything you think you know about the market. Right now, we're going to start from scratch. And then I walk them through how the market actually works, because it's not the way most people think. Um, so
Interesting.
that's a really interesting conversation, because I promise they've never heard anything like what we go over in that presentation.
Um, I want to move forward, but where on your make sure before we end this interview, where people can go to get more information on your next workshop. Um, okay, so I want to make sure that we get through the interview and I can ask all the questions, but I want to understand more about like your practice and your vision for it, because nothing's static, right? Business is dynamic. You're always changing. You're learning new things. You're trying new things, and I'm sure the goal is to add more value to your clients. When it comes to your practice, where do you see it in the next 1 to 3 years? What's your vision? What goals are you working on?
Great question. I have so many in my head, because ultimately what I really want to have is I want to have a firm that no matter what a client needs, they can come here. That means we need to have in-house CPAs. That means we have to have in-house attorneys probably for business planning and things like that. So that's where the vision is going. I don't know if all of that happens in the next 1 to 3 years, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to, because we have to do that planfully. You can't just do it all at once. It won't work. So like one of the
One
big
thing at
steps
a time, right? Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
One of the things we did recently was the strategic partnership with an estate planning firm, that we can now
Nice.
have draft estate planning documents for clients.
Nice.
And so that seems to be going very smoothly. So I think the next thing, frankly, would be trying to find a relationship with a CPA or a CPA firm, so that we can have a strategic partnership there, and we can offer quote unquote in-house tax planning and tax advice from an income tax standpoint.
Okay. What is the benefit to your clients of having of you having reached that goal of bringing in an in-house CPAs, in-house attorneys, and those strategic partnerships? What's the benefit to your clients, or the targeted
Yeah,
benefit, right?
yeah. I think the benefit is the more you can have coordination between those different areas of advice, between portfolio management, retirement planning, tax planning, estate planning, the less separated those advisors are, the better the overall plan will come together. I kind of describe it like you're trying to put together this well-designed puzzle, but one person has a third of the puzzle, another person has another third of the puzzle, another person has another third of the puzzle, and it's never going to come together to make the overall picture that you're trying to make within the on the cover of the box. And so if we can coordinate all of that and work with the same people, and ideally have them working as in our firm, I think that all of that advice coordinates a lot better, and less things fall through the cracks.
I love it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I can see you being able to add more value, more coordination, being more thorough, more comprehensive. Um, because it's when you have different things, different pieces of the puzzle, it's easy for stuff to fall through the cracks, and you don't want those details missing. So, I can see how that would be more valuable to your clients, because it's quite frankly you're able to have more control. It sounds like over the situation. But let's
Yeah, and
talk.
it's easier on
Go,
the
go ahead.
clients too. They can just call it. They can call our firm, and we can have it. We can talk with them about it all, and or have the attorney right there to talk to them, the accountant right there to talk to them. So that's ultimately where.
Yeah, I love that. Any challenges standing in your way from that? Any current challenges?
Yeah, I need
Any
more
you want to?
time. I need more time. I need like 14 days in a week and 48 hours a day, and then I think we can get it done a lot quicker. Now, in all seriousness, time is we're pretty busy. We work really hard for our clients. So even when we're not in meetings, we're doing stuff. We're doing research. We're looking at data and trying to figure out trends and so forth. And so it's almost like it never ends. And then all of a
Sure.
sudden you say, "Oh, I meant to get to that today, and I didn't get to it."
Yeah.
right? So it's just more time, but we're going to get there for
Yeah.
sure.
It's one of the things where you just those important but not necessarily urgent things that you have to make time for.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, I get it. Um, All right, so let me ask this one, and then I want to talk a little bit more in a moment. I want to talk more about your process, how you work with your clients, what it looks like to work with you. But first, I want to understand more about your growth and your learning and how you approach these things. So, as your practice has grown, are there any programs or trainings that have kind of shaped your approach and positively impacted how you serve your clients? Is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to who has been
That's
influential or
this.
helpful?
Yeah, I can for sure. I've had numerous business coaches that I work with. I meet with one who's actually works for my broker dealer. That's that I meet with at least once a month. And so his name's John Rodriguez. He's great. Um, but I was in this program called the Business School of Growth,
Interesting.
um, run by, believe it or not, the actual background of the person who runs this program is he's a sports psychologist, works with uh,
Interesting.
mostly female professional golfers and female tennis players, professional tennis players. But he took his sports psychology sort of mindset and transformed it to apply to our business. And his business school of growth was just, I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. His name's Dr. Rick Jensen, and he is spectacular. So any advisors out there that might catch this thing, if someone ever offers you to get into a program with him, or you have an opportunity to, you should just do it.
Love it. Dr. Rick Jensen. Cool. Um, I mean, there are all there's all these different ways to explore how you can grow in learning, and it's something that I think our clients can relate to as well. Is the importance of training, getting help, and those sorts of things. So I always like to ask this question if I get a chance to, whenever I interview anybody. Okay, now what I'd like to do is let's take a moment to talk about your actual process. Maybe you could walk us through if somebody were to become a client today, what happens the first few weeks? What does onboarding look like?
So we have a pretty well streamlined, organized process, right? So we get through the pre-client meetings and so forth, and they determine they'd like to hire us for whatever they hire us for. And from there, we have an operations specialist and we have a director of client relations, two different people. The director of client relations works right here in our offices here in Braintree. The operations specialist actually works for our broker dealer. And so, but she does all of our account opening, all of the administration, everything. And so, and the very first thing that happens is we let them know this is what we're doing for these clients. And then Tara, who's our director of client relations, sends out, will reach out to them, introduce herself. We'll send out an email that has, here's the next steps. Here's what you're going to see happen over the coming week. And in there is also a client interest form that we ask each new client to fill out, which tells us what do they like to do? What are their hobbies? Do they own pets? We want to literally know everything we can about our clients. And so that helps us when we do client events to determine which events we invite which clients to, right?
Ah,
Things
yeah,
like
you
that.
wouldn't want a dog lover meeting with a cat lover because there might be trouble. Just kidding.
Right.
Just
Could
kidding.
be. Yeah.
Could be trouble.
But, so it actually helps us to bring them content and events that we know that they're going to really enjoy and get a lot out of, rather than
Sure.
just sending everyone the same stuff and inviting everyone to the same things. So, so but really there's no heavy lifting necessary on the new clients side. We take care of all of the paperwork for them, and they get an e-signature sent to them in their email. They sign it, and then we get it all set up, and it's done pretty smoothly
Sounds like a
and
white
quickly.
glove process to me.
It is. It's very important to me.
Yeah. All right. So, what are some of the questions that you typically get during onboarding from your clients? What are the things that you find that your clients come to you with, or does anything consistently come up?
I assume you're talking about when we're meeting with them to see if they're going to be a client or
No,
during the
I think
onboarding.
after they're already a client, they're onboarding. I'm just trying to understand more about where your client's head is at, what kind of occupies their mind as they're going through the process, and if you've noticed any patterns around questions or maybe concerns isn't the right word, but just maybe what your clients are thinking and going through they're being onboarded. Does that question make
So
sense?
it does. We don't really get a lot of questions during the onboarding session. I think it's because of the way we interact with them to the point that they hire us. Like
Mm,
one of the questions I get, I do a fair amount of public speaking at conferences and so forth. And one of the questions I always get is like, what do you say to clients to get them to hire you? Like in other words, this is somebody looking for a salesy idea. We don't do any of that. Like we lead our clients across this process, our prospective clients through this process. And by the time they get to the end of the process, they're going to know for sure if they want to hire us or not. And most of them do. And so we've answered all of their questions. They know exactly what to expect. And then Tara reinforces that with her reaching out to them right away, welcoming them to the firm, letting them know here's the next steps. You're going to receive an email, things like that. Uh, but by the time they're onboarding, we don't really get a lot of, I can't even think of the last time that I've had a question from a new client while they were on.
yeah. So I found, and let me know if you think that this is why, this is just a theory, but when you lay out a process, you show them exactly somebody exactly what you're going to do and what to expect, what the timeline will be,
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to do for them, and what, if anything, you need from them. When that needs to be there, what the expectations are. You lay that out very clearly. You tell them what you're going to do, and then you do it, and you show them what you're doing there, what you're doing next. You give them a clear process. It's really something that feels like a great experience for somebody else to go through because they don't have to think about anything. They don't have to worry about anything. You're showing them here's exactly what we're going to do, and then you execute, and that gives them a lot of confidence, and it's a great trust builder. Do you think that's probably why you don't get a lot of questions?
100%. And
Yeah.
the key to that is that only works if you actually deliver what you tell them you're going to deliver, right? If you say we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and X is going to happen, I'm making this up, in 2 days, and Y is going to happen in 3 days, and then in 4 days, Z is going to happen, and then it's day 7 and none of it's happened, now you got a problem. So you
Yeah.
have to be ready. You got to have a white glove system in place, but you also have to execute it. You can't, it's really critically important that the clients receive exactly what we promise them, not just during the onboarding phase, but while they're clients forever. And so we have a system for how we interact with clients from a review standpoint, how many reviews they get a year, how they get scheduled.
Nice.
It's everything is systemized so that nothing falls through the cracks. Because if our clients call us asking for a review, and it does happen once in a while, where like they're not yet due for another review, they just want one because they saw something on the news or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Sure. Yeah.
My initial reaction is, are we behind schedule on their reviews? And I go
Yeah.
right in
Yeah.
and I figure it out, because if we are, I've now got to have a sit down and figure out what happened. Um, and so we're very hyper focused on delivering everything we promise them when they become clients
On
from a
that
service
note,
standpoint.
on that note, what does it look like to work with you during the course of a calendar year? Talking about like meeting structure, cadence. What can somebody expect? Obviously, I think it sounds like if somebody needs anything, they can always call. But that's kind of ad hoc. But how about your structure? How have you structured the year from your client's perspective?
So it depends on the client to a degree, right? Like some clients quite literally say, I don't want to do review meetings. Like
Interesting.
you're doing your own thing. And if there, unless it's something really important, like I don't care about a regular review. Just tell me something important's happening and we'll meet. Or if I have a question, I'll reach out to you. We have other clients that say, I'd like to do a review meeting every month. Now that's a little bit overkill. I think doing a review meeting every month is a little too much. But the way our system is set up is each client gets somewhere between 1 and 3 review meetings a year. And that's where we reach out to them on a specific schedule. And when it's their time to have a review meeting, we're contacting them. They don't have to contact us. we're scheduling it. Tara is the one that does that reach out and schedules it for me or one of the other advisors who might be handling the reviews for that client. And so they never have to worry about if we're going to reach out to them. We have it all system. It's all planned. Like if it's 3 reviews a year, every 4 months, they're going to get a phone call saying it's time for your next review. If it's 2, every 6 months. If it's 1, every 12 months, right? And again, if the client who's getting 1 review a year wants to meet before their 1 year is up, we don't say no. We will meet with them. But even if they don't want to meet it, there's no need for them to meet. We're going to have at least 1 review a year with every single client.
Yeah, I've seen that consistently in the advisors I've interviewed when they explain how they work with their clients. Minimum of 1 year, and ad hoc if you have any questions. And then there's other structures that are in place. But did you come to this structure just by kind of doing it over a period of time, and figuring out what works? Did you follow kind of somebody else's model? Before we end here, just help us understand a little bit more about kind of the inspiration and how you kind of settled on this process, because it sounds very white glove, which is a consistent theme that I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
So did you engineer this yourself, or did you model somebody else?
I engineered it myself, but from my experience in the industry, right? So I think that most clients don't need more than 3 reviews a year. I think 3 is a lot, actually, unless something big is happening out there in the real world or to markets or with the economy. 4 months goes by like that in this industry. So like you get done with a review and all of a sudden you're meeting with them again and it seems like you just met with them. And there's not typically a whole lot more to say in 4 months, but we do them. One, we have to meet with them at least once a year from a regulatory standpoint, because if we're charging an advisory fee, they have to be met with. So they're going to meet with us at least once a year. That's bare minimum. But for those clients have more complex situations, maybe they have tax situations and we're doing regular Roth conversions with them and things like that, we may have to meet them more often, right? To do things like that, which is perfectly fine. But they're going to meet at least once a year. A lot of people used to do quarterly meetings. And I was like, no one's going to notice the difference between every 3 months and every 4 months. And just from a capacity standpoint, if you have, 200 or 300 clients or households, you've got to be able to do all the stuff behind the scenes that allows you to manage their money properly and also meet with them and give them all the information they need. But if you're doing too many reviews, one, they don't really add a lot of value because they're too frequent.
Yeah.
And 2, you're just going to run out of time. You're going to run out of time.
Which you said is your scarcest resource right now anyway. So,
sure is.
Got to be efficient.
Sure is.
All right, Michael. Well, let's land this plane. For someone listening who is interested in getting in touch with you or learning more, what should they do next? Where should they go?
You can go to imperiawealth.com. It's Imperia, no L, Imperia wealth.com. There are several places on that website you can request information. There's a lot of free resources on that website. There's nothing paid for on the website, and you can request a meeting. You can request to be added to our newsletter list, where we send out a monthly newsletter with lots of valuable information. We're happy to do that. But that's the best place to go, I think, to gather more information about us.
Okay. So if you're interested, go to imperiawealth.com. If you want to schedule a call, click on contact. And since we're going to circle back here, click on events if you want to learn about the events that Michael is hosting over the next coming month or 2. All right, Michael, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you sharing your insights with us today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All righty.